Hey, what's up y'all? I'm back with another video. First and foremost, I would like to apologize for my brief hiatus once again, as I had decided to circumnavigate the globe aboard the Trinidad alongside Ferdinand Magellan and his fleet of vessels. I've made plenty of videos in the past involving 10.1.7's reintroduced items, and figured that I would continue to come back with another one since the idea seems to be evergreen. If you aren't familiar, Dragonflight's update 10.1.7 introduced hundreds of previously lost items that were removed with both the Cataclysm and Pandaria revamps of classic zones and dungeons. Most of these items typically see listings between tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of gold in item value, with some items even reaching into the 7-digit range in value. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to unlock the original versions of the Scarlet Crusade dungeons, as well as some of the super high ticket items that you can obtain while farming them. Anyways, that being said, let's just get right into the video. Unlocking the original Scarlet Monastery dungeons is pretty easy, seeing as there are two methods. To unlock the original Scarlet Monastery dungeons, you're going to need to obtain the Scarlet Key, which can in turn be used to complete a quest near the entrance to the Scarlet Monastery dungeons in order to unlock the original versions of the instance. Obtaining the Scarlet Key is also pretty simple, seeing as there are two methods of acquiring it. The first method, the free method, is to have it drop from a loot-filled pumpkin during the Hallows End World event. Since this video is being recorded and edited in December, you may have to wait a couple of weeks at the minimum in order to obtain it this way. Fortunately, however, there is another way to obtain the key, and that's off the auction house. The item itself typically lists between 10 and 15 gold, meaning that it may be out of the price range for my average viewer, but that's alright, since I have plenty of other videos and guides on how you can make enough gold to afford the key. Once you've acquired the key, all you'll have to do is head on over to the Scarlet Monastery dungeons, turn in the quest, and you're all done and ready to start farming. The first Scarlet Monastery wing that I wanted to cover is the graveyard. The pathing is pretty straightforward, and seeing as the instance itself isn't too large, it's quite easy to hit your instance lockout cap within well under 20 minutes. Being the lowest level instance of the four, the items that you're looking to farm may not be quite as good as the rest, but there are still some items that are worth taking note of in case you were looking to diversify your inventory with some great medium ticket items. The first item that drops from here are the Watchman Pauldrons, which typically list for around 50,000 gold on average on my realm, which isn't too bad, especially when you're just using it as a way to pad your transmog bank. The next item that's worth taking note of is Bloodspiller, an axe that typically lists for around 70,000 gold on any given time on my realm. The next item worth taking a note of is the Butcher, another axe that typically lists for around 165,000 gold at any given time, not just on my server but across all US realms. While the item values from the Scarlet Monastery Graveyard Wing may not be particularly mind-blowing like some of the items values later in the video, it's also worth noting that every single wing of Scarlet Monastery has a chance to drop pieces from the Scarlet Mail set, which on its own has pretty decent listing prices, the most notable piece of which being the Scarlet Boots, which typically lists between 500,000 and 800,000 gold on my server, as well as across US realms. The next wing of Scarlet Monastery that I wanted to cover was the Armory, since while it's slightly more underwhelming than the Scarlet Monastery Graveyard, it, much like the aforementioned Scarlet Monastery Graveyard, still has some items that are worth mentioning that you can farm to help pad your transmog reserves. The first item that is worth mentioning is the Swamp Chill Fetish, which lists for around 100,000 gold on average, at least on my realm. Fortunately, or unfortunately, this is the highest ticket item that you're going to be able to acquire while in the Scarlet Monastery Armory, but like I mentioned earlier, the mobs around the instance still have a chance to drop those Scarlet Mail pieces. Other pieces that drop from the instance include the Resplendent Guardian, which typically lists for around 30,000 gold across US realms, as well as the Shield of Thorson, another shield item that typically lists for around 10,000 gold both on my server as well as across US realms in general. Like I said, the armory may not be the biggest gold mine as far as Scarlet Monastery farming goes, but I would still recommend putting some runs in just as a way to increase your transmog inventory diversity with more medium ticket items. The next wing of Scarlet Monastery that I wanted to cover is the library. This is the first wing of the Scarlet Monastery dungeons where you're going to be able to farm hyper rare 7-figure gold range items. The first item that's worth taking note of is the Chesterfall musket, which typically sees listings for anywhere between 50 and 60,000 gold both on my realm as well as across US realms. While not particularly impressive, I've actually managed to get my hands on several and have even sold 2 or 3 of them in the past 6 months, which is a pretty good rate for an item like this that would typically take between 10 or 12 months to offload. The next item worth taking note of is the Sunblaze Coif, which typically lists for around 320,000 gold. While not a hyper rare item like the rest of the items that I'm going to be listing off throughout the video, its value is still incredibly high, and seeing as it isn't as hard to acquire as the rest of the items throughout the remainder of the video, it's definitely an impressive item to acquire. The last item that is worth farming in the Scarlet Monastery library is the Sliver Blade, a dagger that typically lists around 2 million gold on average across US realms. Being the first hyper rare item in the video, if you're able to acquire and sell the item, you're looking at a pretty decent paycheck. Between the 3 items, as well as the continued possibility of acquiring Scarlet Mail pieces of transmog, I would definitely recommend putting some decent sessions into the Scarlet Monastery library, seeing as you're almost always guaranteed to make some fat stacks while farming here. The last wing of Scarlet Monastery that I would recommend farming is the Cathedral. While the instance itself may be larger than the rest of the wings, the higher mob density more than makes up for the amount of time that it takes to clear the instance. It's also worth mentioning that you're going to be able to hit your instance cap regardless, so I wouldn't stress about how long it takes to clear the instance. The first notable item that drops from the Cathedral is the Steelclaw Reaver, which typically lists for around 1.5 million gold across US realms at any given time. The next notable item that drops in the Cathedral isn't so much an item but a pattern for the Citrine Pendant of Golden Healing. Now, while the pattern itself may be bind on pickup, the actual pendant typically lists for around 250,000 gold at any given time across US realms. Even though it may be a neck piece and will more than likely take a good 10 to 12 months to offload, there is always going to be a collector out there that'll be more than willing to fork over the gold in order to acquire a rare item, regardless of how much it costs. The last item that is worth mentioning that drops from the Scarlet Monastery Cathedral is the Mark of Kern, which typically lists for over 2.7 million gold at any given time across US realms. The item itself, while hyper rare, is also special, seeing as it is one of the few items left in the game that bears the name of a developer after the Great Blizzard name purge of 2021. Much like the Citrine Pendant, the value of the item comes from the rarity of the item, meaning that you're really only looking to offload this item to a hardcore collector. But it's cool. It's chill. I'm just a chill guy for real. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. I have some more gold sludge videos as well as other morsels of content making their way down the pipeline, so I wouldn't anticipate another several month break in content like I've done in the past. Don't hold me to it though. Like I've been saying in all of my videos recently, my Discord server is officially open, the link of which you can find at the end of a short PowerPoint presentation down in the description below. So feel free to hop in and show off pictures of you killing Drakthir and Volpera, since I love seeing content like that. I'd also like to mention that my guild, The Guy, is currently recruiting for high-end PvE content as well as guild activities such as posting up in largely populated areas, as well as other activities and remaining nonchalant during high-pressure situations. And if you'd like to join, feel free to join my Discord or shoot Bonesaw or I a message in-game so that we can deliberate on your acceptance. Anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, peace.